I'll begin here with a little history of who is 007 and Ian Fleming. So, 007, or James Bond, is a fictitious character written by Ian Fleming. Ian Fleming himself based James Bond on, or in his, with his time in the British military when he was in World War II working for the intelligence office. He was just a desk guy as far as I'm aware. He wasn't a spy or out in the field or had any combat time. He was just a desk guy. But during that time, he got inspired to write of a story where there's a shadow organization and mustache twirling villains in the background and a suave, debonair spy in the front ground, which would be James Bond, his character. He So yeah, James Bond works for the fictitious MI6, the highest level of military intelligence in Britain. He has a 007, that's his code moniker, but it also is part of how he was given a what's called the license to kill. As a spy during his missions, he does have the prerogative that as long as his mission gets done, he has a license to kill. Kill anyone as long as your goals are met. I always think it's cool because in some of the movies they do portray him nice, like he is just a deadly assassin, cold and ruthless. Other times, no, he's a lover. Anyway, so the history of Bond video games does actually come before 007. 007 GoldenEye is not the first. There were a few, but this was the first that I ever played and fell in love with. I was 15 when the game came out, so I was freshman in high school. My buddy got it first, and later during Christmas break would I get my Nintendo 64, and then a few days later, of course, GoldenEye would follow, and it would become a very prized staple at my house throughout my high school. Wow, those death matches could go on forever with friends. Remember that old couch combat you used to have? Times have changed. Anyway, what I look for in a Bond video game after having played more throughout now, 23 years of it, is gunplay and gadgets. Later Bond games will also talk about car combat. But for this first generation of three-dimensional James Bond games, I was simply interested in gunplay and gadgets and how are they portrayed. Um, so yeah, let's get to GoldenEye. GoldenEye 007 came out in August 1997. The movie came out 2 years earlier. The game is developed by Rare and published by Nintendo. So the first thing you notice when you boot up GoldenEye is, well, the graphics. While I played it here on a 50-inch TV, I do remember playing it on a 13-inch TV when I was a kid. And yeah, wow, with a 1080 converter, that's not an upgrader, that's a converter, and my 50-inch TV, yeah, the graphics for a 23-year-old game, they don't look all that great. They are definitely muddied, and yeah, but with that in mind, I still was impressed with the game and how it ran. It ran pretty smooth. Okay, in the level statue, I swear I only saw a smear on these walls. But now, with maybe it's the 50 inch, maybe it's the 1080 converter, but now it's like I could see a person and I was like, oh, whoa, I thought it was just a smear on the wall. Anyway, speaking of the level statue, the fog. Limitation of the technology of the time, the Nintendo 64 and, well, all outdoor levels in this game suck. The fog is a limitation implemented by not the draw distance would be too much to process and would kill the game, so that they just did fog so that the system wouldn't have to process all of it. And like I said, in the outdoor levels, it outright sucks. The two levels that, in my opinion, get the highest level of vacuum suckiness are statue and jungle. They feel like a nearsighted person trying to find their way. Well, I don't know what they're trying to find their way through, but just a nearsighted person stumbling through the world. It's difficult, and until I figured out a quick path through both of them, or which way to just head through it, don't trust your sight sometimes. Just like a pirate mission. Turn left and walk 37 feet. Turn right after that and walk 5 feet. It's like, that's how I got I don't know, that's how I learned how to remember through the level. Um, well, and then on the indoor levels, when the game does run, I thought it ran all right. I mean, I think it's like 24 frames a second. on good times. When there's chaos and craziness, even on the inside levels, you'll see some slowdown. But again, that was 23 years. All right, the controls. This is a huge part of the fun to be had for me is in the variety of the controls. When I originally picked up the game, I was playing it under 1.1 Honey. Honestly, I liked this style until playing multiplayer. And then I found Solitaire to be more accurate of a control style. What's the difference? All right, so with you're holding it with the I believe it's called the right-handed style. I forget what they're called. But so your left hand is on the joystick, the thumbstick, and your right hand is using the C sticks for both of these control styles. For Honey, the joystick moves Bond forward and turns him left or right or runs backwards. The C stick strafes left or right and looks up or down. In 1.2 Solitaire, this is actually going to feel kind of like an inverted version of how today's control style works, where the C stick is looking left or right, up or down, and then the C stick, the C buttons are move in straight directions. So move forward, move backwards, strafe left and right. And I say it's just a mirrored version of the way most people play today's first-person shooters. And I got to say, that way felt the best to me. And there was a way to play it another way where you could play it holding this way and have look as the joystick again in Solitaire. And it would, I guess, feel more this way. But I played it this way when I was younger, and I found myself playing it on this playthrough in that same way again and enjoying myself. I absolutely loved it. There are two other control styles that just moved the looks and around. Nothing big. Perfect Dark would introduce this. And that was basically modern day first person shooter controls with two joysticks. Not GoldenEye though. Okay. So with that, the meat and potatoes truly of GoldenEye is the good gunplay with your control style. So once you pick your control style, then you're going to sit down and play the game and you're going to have some fun because it is really, really good gameplay. Gunplay, gameplay. In any case, there's so many things to go on about with the gunplay. There's a variety of weapons, variety of every type of weapon, a variety of when you shoot the enemy, there is a myriad of animations. I shot off one of the hats one time. You shoot their hand, they animate. You miss, and they may do something else, like bunny hop. I always loved the bunny hop because I was like, what is that move called? It's simply called the bunny hop. Like when they just up, and it's like that. It's a hilarious move. Um, for a 1997 game, yeah, the animations for being shot in the exact place is amazing. And yeah, all their competitors in that time didn't even get close to this. Um, and now we're going to have to get to the minor part, which is the gadgets. So I did enjoy the watch interface, but beyond that, I found all the gadgets to be pretty much like guns. Like they handled just like the guns. You got the magnet, which you just load it up. In the corner of the screen, you got your number of charges. You basically aim your targeting trajectory, which isn't even on, so you just basically aim the screen center around the key and press the trigger. What was it? The same thing with the Goldeneye copier. You just boop, boop, boop. Then the remote modem. The watch kind of handled like a gun. Again, point, click, shoot interface. Yeah, so the gadgets are done okay in GoldenEye, but the gunplay is done definitely, definitely well. All right. So did GoldenEye age like fine wine or did it sour like vinegar? Well, truth be told, a little bit of both. Obviously the graphics and texture are like, wow, that is definitely 20 years ago or more, 23, as I've said before. But when you sit down and play it, you remember that this was an amazing first person shooter. And there's a reason why many people continue to have this game in, let's say, their top 100 games of all times or top 100 first person shooter games of all time. There's good reason, and it still stands to be like this was one of the first person shooters on consoles that did it well. Uh, did it do it great? No, almost though. I mean, and back in the day when it came out, yes, it was definitely amazing and worthy of all praise. 23 years later, it's worth a gameplay. Yeah, I mean, it's worth to sit down and play if like you're cleaning your cellar or your basement and you find it. Yeah, have an afternoon, sit down and play it. Or if a buddy of yours happens to be like myself and a collector and just has it there always ready, stop by his house one day and be like, "Hey, do you want to boot up Goldeneye? I'd love to play it a little." It's worth that kind of playthrough. Is it worth obsessing over and finding it and buying it? Not necessarily. Uh, watch videos like mine about it, other reviewers, get a good taste of what it was. And yeah, it is not a must buy in the realms of video game antiquing. I still loved it. Um, so yeah, that was GoldenEye 007 for the Nintendo 64. Next, I will be talking about Tomorrow Never Dies for the PlayStation 1.